Hello, welcome to Chesterfield, and our next explore starts straight at the bottom of this slope. Well, that's spoiled the movie for you now, isn't it? Sorry. We're at the start of the historic Chesterfield Canal, which opened in 1777. Amazingly enough, that's exactly 200 years before I was born. Unfortunately, this old fella isn't as fully accessible as it used to be. So for today, we are sticking with the 5-mile stretch starting from here at Tapton Mill Bridge, which uncannily resembles a lock, but in actual fact isn't one, and currently reaching as far as Staveley Basin, where a huge restoration project up at that end is steadily progressing. Studying the brick-born portal from which we begin our journey today, I think even narrowboat might be an understatement at this stage. I might somewhat advise using a kayak instead. Oh, do come off it. I can fit through there laid across with my arms stretched out. Then again, they might ruin my tank top a bit. Perhaps not. I think I'll have to leave this on in a few more minutes. Treading through this woodland-tinged outskirt of the town centre, here's a rundown for you. As already mentioned, 1777 was the year the canal fully opened. The full 46-mile waterway, which connected from the River Rother just behind us here at Chesterfield and the River Trent at Newark, was used to export coal, limestone, lead and timber, along with groceries and general merchandise between Chesterfield and the rest of Derbyshire. Its offloading spots would have had probably more substantial space on offer than this fishing jetty, however. It was designed and built by local engineer James Brindley. Well, saying that, most of it was. Sadly, the engineer in question passed away before completion, with fellow Derbyshire-born constructor John Varley finishing the job. We'll be seeing his name come up again in a little while. In fact, I'd make that an even littler while, because just straight across the canal from me at this very moment is a barge that carries said chap's name. Obviously, with the number 2 suffix on the end, it is not the only barge to have carried his name to date. I can only guess its predecessor has since met its end in a scrapyard. I can assume that this little fellow along here is either private property of a local owner or what they use for the economy tour. One last look at the lovely lady before we ourselves once again have to sail. Coming up to and through this lovely little tunnel underneath the A619 takes us right into our first lock of the day. Welcome to Tapton Lock, home of John Varley II when she's giving rides. Sadly, given its half term, I'm surprised it's not giving any today. So while we have it to ourselves, let's enjoy the lock from a few angles, orthodox and not so. So, 1 lockdown, 4 to go, and still a few more bridges yet to dive under. And also, let's throw in a launch ramp or two as well. Why not? While a little detour over on our left shortly, as well as a board-looking water pump, we come across what I understand to be the headquarters of the Pleasley Canoe Club. What looks more like the start of a paintballing course. If it is the former, however, it's a fair little bit of deja vu for those who watched my Lancaster to Kiveton railway video. Have to wonder, however, how many years ago it was since anyone actually showed up for the weekly session. While I hate to have to ruin another canal video with too much railway talk, there are, however, 2 magnificent specimens of architecture straight in front of me here. And given that I'm having to cross beneath both of them, it does beg the temptation. The first one being the Midland Railway between Sheffield and London, while the second one, just behind, is the original Midland line from York to Derby that bypassed Sheffield, commonly known by many today as the Old Road. Both lines connecting just slightly south of here on the way towards Chesterfield station. Let's enjoy the moment. And open out into a lovely curving swoop behind. As we get closer to the next lock at Brimington, we have a little bit of artwork on the ground to look at. Escaping the clutches of another concrete tunnel. And once again, we come into the colourful curving open. Wier Mill lock, right in front of us now, comes with its own little couple of surprises. The first being their relatively compact plank rack design, and the first tunnel today that towpath users can't travel beneath. And as a third, just round this corner, and once again with my apologies, is a bridge over another former railway. This was the Great Central Railway from Sheffield into Chesterfield, which ran alongside the canal for the next few miles in front. We'll be seeing that again in a little bit, but hopefully not too much in depth, as it will feature on a Dave's Deadlines video very soon. Anyway, canal sides are the game, so it's goodbye to Wier Mill and on our way once more. Blue Bank Lock emerges into view around this next right hand corner. Ooh, where one of its gates appears to be left open. At least it comes with its own decent footway across this time, unlike the last two locks. Plus its own wooden resident in waiting. And on top of that, you get a plank rack with space to put your flowers in. Never let it be said that Blue Bank Lock don't know how to look after their guests. Still, it gets a bit lonely around here, so I think we'll be getting along again. Shall we? Now, how's about this for a spot to sit and read? Sit and read. Get it? And if that dainty little bridge back at Blue Bank didn't satisfy you, then this one should. I appear to be disturbing a fishing session here. My apologies to those around. Straight through the bridge, and it's time for the chicane. Dixon's lock, upon which we are just descending, does appear to come with its own optical illusion. No, not that it can just suddenly vanish behind a load of bushes and suddenly reappear again as by magic. In that, it seems to often give the look of being flooded to the brim every time I come past it. However, on getting to the far end, you realise it's just simply another good old lock. With its lovely little bridge. That's good, but not actually old. This lovely lady being contributed as part of the canal's 2012 restoration project, and welcomingly resembling one of the ones on various miniature railways I used to ride. As we depart Dixon's Lock, you'll see that it's got a really tidily designed rear exit, despite it being a bit overgrown lately. But then again, it is October. The weeds haven't quite yet reclined. The sun's gone in, but we're still another lock to go yet. Unusual brick abutment over there, not sure where it led to though. There's no mention of a railway crossing at this point. Been a mystery for me for many years every time I pass it. Another long, graceful, swooping S-bend awaits me. And I, for once, can see right through to it without a load of weeds in the way. I have to say, I like this little gateway that the vegetation's formed either side of the path right here. Straight through the sycamore we will advance, and we come straight upon our first and perhaps hopefully only pipe bridge for the trip. I'm probably aware that a few out there of you don't like them too much, but they are still a necessity, sadly. Still, at least some come with a bit of a decoration. Once we're clear of this next awkwardly narrow portion of Towpath, I'm very sorry to say it, but we have to talk railways again. Because remember that line that began running alongside us at Wier Mill Lock? Well, it's just about to cross over right where we're walking now, over these two lovely blue brick abutments either side. And on top of it once also sat Staveley Works railway station on the Great Central Line, which curves over to the right through the town and on its way towards Sheffield. Whilst we're at it, this is also home to our second barge of the day, although right now it is a bit difficult to film in its entirety because it is rising from the depths of this lock. Don't know where it's actually going, down or up. It's doing a bit of both. While waiting for Madeline to rise, just taking that lovely date stone on the other side there. Our glorious resident Madeline, more than halfway up her lift at the moment. And sort of able to move at last. Appropriately Halloween themed again by the look of it. I did hear some coughing going on just now. And here at Huntingdon Lock is where I'm going to have to head for a coffee break. While the coal shipping industry of the canal was a success in the 1800s, that came to an end in 1907 when the Norwood Tunnel near Kiveton Bridge collapsed, severing the route into two parts. The 1.5 mile long tunnel near Sheffield was also the reason that the canal's opening in 1777 was actually 2 years delayed, due to financial difficulties slowing the project up. Something meanwhile seems to be slowing Madeline up. A few hungry crew members probably. A quick call home to Mum by the looks of it. A quick work round the lock in the meantime. And as it's the last one today, do things a little bit more fancier. Well, bidding a fond farewell to Hollingwood Lock, and also taking the steepest departure beneath the canal bridge ever to date. It's away again. And there was me thinking that towpath coming into the lock was narrow enough. The compensation here though is that cyclists are on their own separate paths themselves, just to my left. See, everything's sorted. Time right away to go straight into the wildest turn on this towpath. Round left and right. And straighten. One last look to the rear before the rest of the road to Staveley and Staveley Basin beckons ahead. And at this point, we no longer carry on bringing a cutting. It's into the open English country, wide as a bowl, that we now meander. as cows or horses sometimes enjoy a hearty meal from the grass on the other side. Just dining alone today, are you, mate? Getting a little further along on the edge of Staveley, Mill Green Bridge is, as its name indicates, more than just a stone archway for us to step beneath. Or, more accurately, duck beneath. There was once some industry over this side of the water, whereas today there's just tree. From one bridge straight to another, and another of my favourites for this route. This modern crossover is one I could have liked to see more of on the Peak Forest Canal, as opposed to its own aerial walkway imitations. If you remember those. Standing for a moment and savouring the view from the last decent footbridge of this walk, and we can see how the canal already widens into a bowl at this corner, as if to indicate we're just about there. I don't want to be the bringer of doom and gloom, but Staveley Locks is sadly somewhat restricted at the moment on visiting, as we're about to find out when we come under this next bridge in front. Oh, sorry. Did I say bridge again then? Oh dear, my tongue slips, doesn't it? Stepping through our last dark hole for the day, you will see what I mean. And very handily, there's still a gap in the fence to see what's going on. The locks here at Staveley are undergoing something of a state-of-the-art restoration project at the moment, as you can probably tell by the girders up on my left here. This is set to last at least the next year or so, but when it's reopened, these locks are going to be a sight to behold. So just for now, I'll let you see a few pictures from back in 2021. As I continue being nosy through the fencing my way past. In spite of the limitations of the fencing, I still managed to get a good peek of this old girl. Not that it is actually old, it's only been there for 3 years. But as we set off beneath this ring road, and sorry, another bridge, and behind that I have another very special bridge to show you. And no, it's not this one, nor is that one towering up above behind a little row of geese. You can see it in the distance right now. Getting closer. This multi-million-pound bridge behind me connects the Transpennine Trail into Staveley town centre, and on the other railway path continuing behind it to Arkwright town, creating a safe connection for cyclists, walkers and riders alike across the soon-to-be restored canal. Looking at the state of things beneath though, I think it might be still yet some while before we see any barges down below here. Now, if you think this other bridge next to it looks a bit familiar to you, it's because it's the one that I began my Staveley to Clam video on back in January. So I'm glad to see at least that survived. Anyway, with the sun breaking out above me one last time today, it's time for me to be heading back for the bus and back to Sheffield. And that's just because there's an issue with the availability of a barge right now. Don't go climbing over any fences, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you back here one day when there's more canal to explore up to Renishaw. Until then, happy towpathing. Bye.